Hi, everybody. My name is Jared Milrad. I'm the founder of Movie Karma. We're the nonprofit organization here in Los Angeles, California, that created our podcast, Rewriting Hollywood, which I'm sure, as many of you know, focuses on diversity, equity, and inclusion in Hollywood, as well as representation and social impact through the power of storytelling. Today, really excited to have a slew of really special guests to talk about their latest film, Free, Dead, or Alive, which is coming out on August 9th in 2022, of course. And it's a really powerful film set along a dangerous trail to the Mexican border, where we follow a knife-wielding heroine who's born into poverty and must escape a ruthless cartel to find her freedom. It really touches on the issues that really millions of folks go through in many ways, coming from South Central America all the way up to the U.S. Southern border, and the dangers that they face along that perilous journey. Today, joining us, just to give some quick intros before you hear from our guests today, Erik Ganem is an actor known professionally around the world, and understand was born in California, raised in Mexico. She's starring this latest film, also has had guest roles on several TV shows. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, CSI, The Cleveland Show, Rob. It's also appeared in Entourage. I'm really excited to have Eddie on the show today. We also have Alejandro de Hoyos, who's been in business, I understand, for many years, and has booked a variety of popular performers in some of the work that he's done. So I'm excited to hear about that, and has been pursuing acting, of course, as well. We also have Courtney LeMarco, executive producer of the film, and founder and CEO of LeMarco Global. And we have, last but not least, Erik Bernard, who's the writer-director of the film, born in Texas, raised in New York, and has done some really awesome TV work, including Hoarders and some other work. So excited to have all of you on. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. Why don't we dive right in? So tell us a little bit. I wanted to go through with kind of down the line here, each of you, and get a little bit more of your backgrounds. I gave kind of the audience here a quick summary of each of you, but why don't we start with Erik? You're kind of a bit at the helm here. Tell us a little bit about your background. I know you're a writer director of this project. What inspired you to pursue this path, and how did you get going in this film?
Hey. Thank you, Jared. It's great to be here today, and it's a great question. I think we always look for the origin story of film and creatives and stuff, and I think mine is just a simple one. I love movies. I grew up in New York City in the Bronx, and I grew up working in a video shop at a young age, and I had a great passion for movies. I ended up joining the military, and I served 15 years active duty, and in the process, I fell more in love with movies as it gave a great escape, and I decided to be a filmmaker. One of those nights, away from home, and this film I wrote while I was in the military, and just I was inspired to tell a story about a woman who was working against immeasurable odds, and what kind of one in a million woman that would be to kind of overcome something like that, and what would go into her pedigree. And, I came up with this story, and I was fortunate to convince Courtney to get behind this story, and convince these other two to join my cast and help me make the movie.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to dive into that process because I think it's really fascinating. And I know a lot of folks maybe outside of the industry, but if you're inside the industry, you know how hard this can be to pull it off. Courtney, tell us a little bit, since you were called out there a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background. I'm really interested to hear about kind of your business work as well, and your brand management work. How did you find your way to be executive producer of this project?
Well, my background pretty much stems from the advertising world. I had an ad agency years back, and that translated into branded content, and somehow ended up in television, producing a little show called Hoarders for A&E. I've been working on that for about 4 or 5 years now. And I've met Erik, 2012, Erik? I believe it was 2012, somewhere around then. And we actually met at a networking event that I was hosting for filmmakers. And he had some really amazing ideas, and we just became really close ever since that time. And I've always been willing to do what I can to support his creative endeavors. He's a much better writer than I am. So yeah, that's how we ended up moving forward with the Free, Dead, or Alive project.
Really interesting. Cool. Thanks, Courtney. Let's go to Eddie. So to you. So you, as I mentioned, have had a really fascinating background. I understand your parents are both of both Mexican Lebanese descent. I mentioned some of your credits and the work you've done. Tell us a little about your journey in growing up. Did you see yourself as an actor? Did you have role models or folks that you were looking up to? What was that like for you?
Thank you for all the introduction. Yeah, both of my parents are from a small town in Mexico where there's this like Lebanese community. So I have that. And I only know the bad words, unfortunately. I wish I spoke Arabic, but I did grow up speaking Spanish. I actually remember the very first movie I watched, and I was probably too young to have seen it. It was The Blue Lagoon with Brooke Shields. And that really stuck with me. It was so magical, the ocean and her and the whole thing. And I just, it's not that I thought I want to be an actress because I didn't realize that this was acting, but I was fascinated by the movie. Then I just, I grew up and I remember going to the circus and being fascinated by the performers and I guess at one point I wanted to be an actress. I know that I have friends who tell me that they remember me saying this, but I've also been very practical my whole life, very responsible. So, I went to high school and I graduated. I had a full scholarship, went to college. They didn't have a theater major there or anything like that. So I studied business administration and media communication. So I just had, two majors, and I thought it was something I could fall back, on like a real degree, a real career, so that I could pursue my crazy dream. So then I moved to LA and I started, taking classes, pursuing acting. And the very few years, the first few years are very difficult if you don't know anyone. It's definitely a different career to pursue, not your like typical where there's like a path. But I think I've been really blessed and lucky through my journey. Always met a lot of good, nice people who gave me good advice and pointed me in the right direction. And then I did small little things. And then next thing you know, I was booking a show called Devious Maids, where I was the fifth lead and all the other four women had all this experience. And I feel like I gained so much from them, from everyone. I grew, I learned, and, also changed my life. And I was able to do, probably many other things because of that. And here I am.
Yeah, and here you are. And I saw that Devious Maids was what sounds like a turning point for you. So
yeah, definitely.
Alejandro, let's go to you. You have also a really fascinating background. You've been a businessman, I understand, as I mentioned, and you've booked performers, I understand as well, and yourself. So I'm just curious, like, tell us a little about your journey and when did you decide to pursue acting?
Oh wow, yeah. Well, I've been working since I was about 12, and then I lived in Acapulco in Mexico City. I was the manager of the biggest club in Mexico City, 3,000 people. So I started booking performers, big guys like Jose, Lupita D'Alessio, Sylvester. I don't know if you guys remember Sylvester. I hired him to perform. It was amazing. And I did a lot of martial arts tournaments, believe it or not, at the club, so in the middle of the dance floor, we had the big ring. So it was fun. I always loved performing. I was afraid to say that I wanted to be an actor because it was not popular. It was not hip to say I want to be an actor. It was hipper to say I'm a businessman. So I became a businessman. I opened a bunch of companies, closed a lot of companies, opened more, closed more. So then when I came to LA here with my wife, she's American. And then when we had a restaurant, we closed it in Virginia. When I was 30, I said, I would like to try to be an actor. So I started taking classes and I booked over 230 commercials, very, very big commercials. And every now and then I would book a TV show, but I didn't have an agent for movie and TV. And in 18, we released a film that I produced, and I was the lead actor in it. And my publicist, Jasmine, she said, you should be working, Alex. I said, yeah, I'm working. I have 9 companies. I have 4 boys, I have all that stuff. She said, no, we're going to get you an agent and a manager. And basically since 18, I've been working like crazy. I mean, got to meet these amazing guys, all of them. It was a great relationship that we created on set, like any other. It was not like like any other experiences. We were like a family. We went through not having water, not having electricity, and still being together, going out to dinner. So here we are now with this film. It's came like this, you know. We shot it, and now it's ready to be out there. Very excited about it.
Yeah, which is very exciting, and that's a really interesting journey that you've taken, and I think one that will, I'm sure, inspire people listening, that you can pursue anything at any age and do anything you want to do with enough focus and commitment, which it sounds like you've done. I wanted to talk a little bit about, of course, about this project and some of the themes around it. Again, the film was called Free, Dead or Alive. Folks can see it as early as August 9th. Erik, let's go to you. You've said that this film is a relevant story about the realities that immigrants face when trying to cross the U.S. border, but it's also a story about the ups and downs between a mother and a daughter, and how love knows no borders at all. And so, can you just tell us more about sort of some of the origin story of this project? You alluded to it a minute ago, but what were some of the themes you wanted to pursue, and why did you feel like this was something important you wanted to go after?
And I think that obviously is a relevant story, and I think here in America we see the conflict from our side of the border. We see people coming over, and we loop them in with some of the negative branding that comes out in the media, but they're people, brave people, remarkable people that are willing to take the ultimate risk to find something better. I mean, just like those kind of people are the kind of people that founded this country, So I think sometimes that's lost, through the media and through our perspective on this side of the border. And then the other part of it is, I think that I screened this film for my mom in Arizona a few months ago, and my mom was back there laughing, and it reminded me of some of what she went through as a woman. She raised us by herself, single mom in the South Bronx, and I think that that's a remarkable type of person also, that the kind of person that learns how to survive, that teaches their child, how to survive. And I wanted to capture a good story that kind of captures some of that, where you have a mother looking to not only give her daughter the tools she needs to survive, but also the willpower and the strength to deal with life's obstacles. And that's the inspiration for the story.
That's really neat. Yeah, I'm a product of a single mom as well, also New York City originally. So yeah. I know that those are really strong folks, and I loved how you incorporated that into the story. I wanted to go to Courtney then. Courtney, producing a project like this, I'm sure has a lot of challenges, like any project, but this one in particular, it sounds like you all had some bumps. So tell me a little bit more about that, and why was this something important to build on what Erik said? Why was this something important that you wanted to be attached to?
Well, I'm also the product of a single parent household. So, I really get behind stories where we're talking about a struggle and someone overcoming obstacles. This project was very challenging. Alejandro alluded to that earlier. Although I have to admit, I wasn't the one dealing with most of the challenges, because we were shooting in Texas. And I'll leave it to the rest of the team to describe what they went through. I actually flew out a day before trouble set in. For me as an executive producer, I'm cutting checks, working out the budget and working out those type of issues. That's really a black and white type thing for the most part. What these guys had to deal with on set is, I can't even describe how horrid it could have been. And they still pulled it off. It was an amazing thing. I would love to hear one of these individuals describe exactly what the challenges they had to face while they're on set.
Yeah, let's do that. Eddie, let's go to you first. Tell us a little bit about the challenges you experienced, but I also want to hear from you about why this was important to be a part of, because I imagine that helped you get through some of the challenges of making this.
Yeah, I mean, mainly if you have passion for what you're doing, you kind of stick through whatever difficulties. And I read the script and I literally couldn't go to sleep. I was so excited to finally read something that, inspired me. I just really connected with having a dream and, pursuing it. It just touched me, but definitely a lot of unexpected issues came up once we were filming it in Texas. I mean, we had snow. I don't even know when was the last time that had happened there. We moved locations, and then we had a hotel where then because of the snow and the storm, the power went out. And so, it was just pitch black, dark at night. I think we also didn't have the water and then so we had to switch hotels. Lots of unexpected difficulties, but as a cast, we all bonded. We were all so passionate about this. We all, respected and believed in Erik's also passion and view. So we all wanted to be there for him as well and support and just kind of be a unit.
Yeah, I love that, and that's, I'm sure, immensely appreciated from a creator's perspective too, that you were that dedicated to pulling off. Alejandro, same question to you. What were some of the challenges you experienced on set, but also why was this important for you to be a part of? Why was this particular project important to you?
Well, let me talk about the challenges first, because not to take away from anything, but as a businessman, the challenges that we face here is like, okay, so we have no water. Okay, we went to the market, got a bunch of bottled waters, and you wash up, with the bottled water, no electricity, no big deal. So to me, that's like any business, anything you're gonna run into problems. This really was no big deal. When Erik says, "Are you guys good? Can we continue?" I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's like, so what? So, but again, I love that we all got together and we had a very nice day. Now, why was this important? Well, I was running my business as usual, and then I get a call from my manager, and she says, "Alex, there's this movie, and it shoots in Texas, and you have to be there tomorrow. Are you interested?" Okay, what is it about? It's this. I said, let's do it. Let's do it. I was very excited about it. And I was replacing somebody, but maybe Erik or Courtney should tell you about the replacement. So it was a very fast decision. You go, I had to sort of learn my lines because I was supposed to shoot the next night. So wow. I'm reading the script, and then I had to drive from one city to another, and I'm driving, and don't tell anybody, I'm driving and reading the script.
Oh, no.
So I do that a lot. But so we ended up not shooting that night, but I think we shot the next day or whatever. But it's a great experience. Great experience. Yeah.
It sounds like it.
And Jared, if I could jump in here for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I appreciate the humility here, man. Number one, Courtney did a hell of a lot, because I think that if I wasn't afraid of him being pissed at me, I wouldn't have worked so hard. That's number one. And every call I had, hey, I need more money. Hey, at the hotel, I mean, and he was there for me. He bitched me out for a little while, but then she would show up for me. And that was a time, even though it was so stressful, it's like one of those moments where you see how much the people in your life love you, man. It's like, God damn, I got a good friend here. And I had to get rid of an actor, and it didn't work out. And Alejandro comes in, and he came in with this energy, man. It was like, boom! It was a challenge, and he came in there day one ready. He had lines already going. He had, we had a fight choreographer there. They went through the fights, and he showed up there with this can-do attitude, which was like remarkable. I mean, and some of the days, I'm talking, it was cold. It was really cold. I mean, so cold. I have jackets on, scarf on, mask on, and my mask is stuck to my face. And then Eddie Ganem's out there fighting in a wedding dress. Now, and it's freezing. I'll tell you, it's cold. It's cold. And during the train up, Eddie's working with the trainer, a fight trainer, and Eddie's just sending me videos where she's adding things on. She's adding knife flips. She's adding these cool things on. And it was like, holy crap. And I remember the team, when we looked at it, we like, damn, we got ourselves an actress. That's what we said to ourselves. And it was one of these, I don't think I'll never work on another project that had me feel this grateful for working with people like this.
Eddie, you want to build on that? Tell us a little about some of the fight choreography, and what were you adding on? It sounds like you were pushing the envelope a little bit.
I think that was so exciting for me that I just kind of wanted to learn everything and anything possible, so I did forget to tell Erik that I'm left-handed. So when they planned all the choreographies, that was not something they kept in mind. So then they sent the choreographers to the, stunt person that was teaching me everything. And then she was like, oh my God, everything is the other way. So I literally learned how to use the knife with both of my hands, all the choreographies with both of my hands. And I just wanted to be so badass. I just thought it was so cool that I was asking her to teach me extra things. There's one scene, it's just so fast in the movie, but I was just, so proud of myself that I was able to do this, like kind of flip and throw the knife and whatever. And, for me, it was just so exciting to switch from what I was used to. I think it's when you're an actor, and then this is what kind of like the adrenaline, what pushes you, what makes you, why we do this, right? So I discovered a whole new thing that gave me this feeling of excitement, of like feeling alive. And so this was really cool for me to play a role where there was action, where I had to do fight scenes, choreography scenes. And some of the nights that we shot, and I'm always cold, I'm always freezing. It's like literally it stresses me out. And we were filming in some freezing nights, and that dress was like not very covering, and somehow we did it. But I think it just adds to the whole, once you look back, it's kind of like what makes the best memories, all the hardships, all the crazy things that we go through. So definitely good memories for me. Now I laugh about it, but I remember suffering, like God, and I would just like go into a ball and just be like, oh my God, ready for the next one, just like trying to warm up.
Yeah.
At times.
Jeez. Yeah, no, that's definitely sounds like some ups and downs, but obviously y'all are really committed. Alejandro, did you want to add to that in terms of the physicalities that you had to learn and get prepared for pretty quickly?
Yeah, for me, it was interesting because the choreography was already there. I mean, the other guy knew all the moves. So they had to teach me everything again. I'm a martial artist myself, so, but funny enough, they didn't want me to do any martial arts. They didn't want me to do any blocking, none of that. It was more like, had to be like they say, you're a brute. So no, I said, yeah, but here I can do a spinning kick and hit him in they're like, no. No kicks, no.
He was pretty badass with everything. You were so good. It looked so good.
Thanks. So
absolutely.
It's more like just like blocking like that, and, punching like that. Yeah, there's a nice scene where I punch somebody and then he never wakes up again.
Yeah, he has brutal power, and the great thing about it was that Alejandro was a real martial artist. The other guy wasn't. So there was some times where the choreographer looks at me and says, hey, Alejandro's making this all work. and it was really good. It was really good stuff.
That's super awesome.
What did Seth, the main guy, says, look, if we make it believe that I can beat you, then I'm a really good actor.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, if you're up against a real martial artist like you, that's a little bit intimidating, I'm sure. But nice work. There's some really, as you said, Eddie, some great action here as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about just some of the other themes here around migrants. I know that in 2021, I believe the U.S. Border Patrol reported about 1.66 million migrants coming to the U.S. border. In that year alone, it was one of I think the highest number in the last 30, 40 years. After the pandemic, especially. So tell us a little bit, if you would, maybe Erik, I'll give this to you or Courtney too, just about the journey that some of these folks go through, and just some of the stories that maybe inspired you in making this, because there's a lot of obviously tragedy and struggle in making this trip. I'll give it to you, Erik.
Yeah. When I was writing this script, so I wrote this script like 9 years ago. So you're right, the numbers have changed. At the time I wrote this script, I'm doing my research, and one of my buddies is working at Amnesty International. So he's giving me these real raw numbers. I'm like, wow, okay. Then I'm asking him, so what's it like? And this is real. I mean, there are nuns that hand out condoms and birth control. I mean, it's real. They give out there because the sexual predators are going to attack women along this journey. I mean, they're really honest about that. There's a train, La Bestia, it's a train that's really brutal. I mean, which we show a piece of that. We had a fight sequence on top of the train, but the green screen didn't really work out in the way that added value to the film, so we cut it from the film. But there's there's a, you know, a story about not only the people that are willing to take this risk, but the predators that are willing to prey upon them from the time they set foot in Central America all the way up to they hit the American border. And, you know, is not promised. Nothing's promised, you know. So, and these people are still willing to risk it all and still to make that journey. I mean, it's just one of those things where you're kind of, you're in awe of the bravery, but you also kind of, you know, you feel a little bit of sadness about the people that are willing to kind of exploit them on this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a you know, very complex thing, obviously, with a lot of suffering and a lot of struggle. And Courtney, did you have to? I mean, I know you're EP here, but did you have to? You know, I imagine just learn about what was happening and some of the issues involved in terms of the themes of the film, or you know, what was your take on that?
Well, yeah, and I think Erik hit the nail on the head earlier. You know, he was talking about how we see things from this side of the border compared to the individuals that are actually going through it, and, you know, families being torn apart, some children out there surviving on their own. It's unbelievable what a lot of these individuals have to go through. So that's one of the reasons why I thought this was I read the script a few years ago, and I was really into it when I read it. So yeah, it's just trying, especially when you really consider that most people here in America are the product of immigrants anyway. So it's a real eye opener.
I'd like to add a little bit, if it's okay.
Yeah, please.
Because I feel that, like, in different ways I've experienced, you know, I was born here, my siblings were not, so there were always, you know, for them, immigration, you know, things. I immigrated, my parents, things like that. But, you know, those were like easy, kind of like, okay, maybe it takes time, it's process, it's paperwork. But then, you know, when I moved here, I had random jobs before I started working so that I could support myself. And I remember meeting some, you know, people who come here to work and they literally just send money to their families. And I remember there was a man who was a shoe shiner and he had been here for 30 years. And he hadn't seen his daughters grow up. He hadn't seen his, you know, wife. And finally, the last daughter was getting married. So the wife was going to be, you know, left alone. And so it was time for him to go back. So he was making a photo album of all his friends here in the US. You know, I remember taking a picture with him and he was finally going back. And that's just an example. I didn't talk to him about his journey here. But then at the time, I think it was last year, I moved, and the movers, you know, who moved me, and I was talking to one of the guys, and he had gone through the journey. And I was so interested, and I always like to ask questions, and he was so willing to talk to me. And, you know, what these people go through is nothing we can possibly imagine. And we were supporting, it was all for a nonprofit that supports immigrants from all over the world. And they had two people there who had no legs because of the bestia, the train, you know. So I think that it's just, the reality is so harsh, and we watch these movies and we only get to see a little bit of a story, you know, of what these people go through to try to make a better life.
Right, we get a snippet of it in the, you know, barely, I would say, in the news, and then thanks to projects like yours, at least we get a little bit more perspective. Mm-hmm. Alejandro, did you want to build on that in terms of you know, just the struggle, the real struggles, the real journeys that these folks and families undergo to come here, and you know, why you feel like maybe it was important to shed some light on that?
Well, I can only speak for my experiences. You know, I have relatives who have tried to come here, and it's obviously very difficult. I came. I don't want to say illegally. I had a passport, and then I started working here and with a passport, and then on one occasion I went back to Mexico, and on my way back they asked for my wallet, and I had a pay stub, so they canceled my passport. You know, so I had to go through a lot to come back. Actually, it's a funny story, but not funny. I mean, but it's I came back through the border walking. I saw like 4 or 5 kids, college kids. They had tequila bottles. So I bought one of those cabs that said San Diego something, and was wearing my shorts, and I tried to blend in with them. I started talking to them, you know, as they were walking in, and the guy asked us, you know, you have fun, and we were like, yeah. I put a gum in my mouth because I have an accent. And back then, we're talking 40 years ago, my accent was a lot heavier. So that's how I walked through the border.
Wow.
And then I had to get married to get my green card. So that was.
And you met your wife.
My wife for 40 years. So.
That your wife helped sort of figure out the rest.
Yeah, but so you figure out ways to. I mean, I wanted to be here because she was here. Obviously, we were not married then. But you do what you have to do, and I am proud that I came to this country and I have provided for many families. I have over 100 people working under me, which is great. We're generating jobs, income. So not all of us are bad hombres, and criminals. So we try to everybody who's trying to come here is because they want a better life. They want to work hard, and they work hard.
That's a great point too, because that is a big talking about this nonprofit and the numbers of the amount of people that are trying to come here. When there are psychologists who talk to them and analyze, it's like 95% are good people trying to just make a better living, not to come here and be criminals.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's so much, and Eric, I want to get to you. I mean, there's so much scapegoating and demonizing of these folks who make this journey, I find. Like you're all saying, there's a real individuals, real stories who are trying to essentially build better lives for themselves at great risk to themselves. And I think to your point, Alejandro, also when folks are here, even if they are undocumented, are paying into actually all of our systems. They're paying into tax systems, often they're paying into Medicare and Social Security systems. And not getting anything in return. So Eric, I was wondering if you wanted to build on some of those themes in terms of what are we not understanding as Americans about these folks who make this journey.
I think that there are people just like us. I mean, sometimes that gets lost because we have to dehumanize people. We have to make them the villains. I mean, and there are a lot of people coming here just to find a better way to live. I mean, no one's had to really deal with the fact someone may come in and steal your child or kill your child and no one's going to do anything about it, or corruption at a level where there's no one for you to call for help, or or even where the most basic quality of life items are just not there. And people don't really in America haven't really experienced that, don't really know what that's like. To see someone that kind of hit that level of desperation and see what they're willing to do, I think sometimes we need to empathize with them a little bit more. And I think that another theme that I think that we tried to hit on in the story is that sometimes one generation pays a debt for another. And I think when you look at a lot of the migrants, they come here with this really huge heart, and they're willing to work low-paying jobs, menial labor jobs, just to create an opportunity for their kid. I mean, and that's pretty remarkable. They're willing to go out there and do whatever they can to scrape by just so that their child can grow up in education and have a chance to be greater than them, to rise to a higher level of achievement than they are. I mean, and I think that's special.
It's incredibly special. And it's so meaningful and gratifying that you all shed some light on this story, on these families. I wanted to touch on, before we wrap, on just also the diversity and inclusion that you all have embedded in its own projects. Courtney, maybe I'll throw this to you as an EP, because I understand this is one of the most diverse productions in terms of a feature, and maybe at least in the last decade. I mean, it sounds like you all have been very intentional about representation behind the camera, in front of the camera, making sure you're getting that right. Courtney, could you talk a little about just building a team, if you were part of that process, and why that was important?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's quite simple. People want to see stories that relate to them, and there's a lot of, Hollywood is notorious and has a history of representing one major group and no other group for the most part. And there's a lot of things that never related to me, even growing up and watching movies as a kid. So I always make it a focus. Our company is really diverse. I always make it a focus or it's really important for us to focus on creating all the projects we create, whether it's film or for television, scripted or non-scripted. We start from a perspective of inclusion and diversity. So that's kind of how we operate. It's in our DNA, so to speak.
Super awesome. Erik, did you want to build on that in terms of, I mean, your vision and how you were able to see it hopefully come to life in such an inclusive way with representation in every side of the production?
Yeah, no, I mean, working with Courtney has been great because Courtney, one of the things he's really good at, he's a system builder. You know, you meet a lot of people that are smart, but system builders are special because he's able to build his infrastructure so we all can communicate. He has like amazing project management skills. So we're able to have a diverse group of people, both men, women, Latinos, and anything you could think of, just working with us together in this big ecosystem that he builds where we're all tracking where we are with the project, we're tracking what's going on with each other. And you know, it starts there to where we all have a good base camp, and then from there, I think it extends into, you know, taking that big leap. And once we decide to take that leap, you know, we're able to align with people like Alejandro and Eddie, and some of the other actors like Robert Aveganet, who wrote a great song for us, the closeout song. He wrote that as original song. We're able to kind of find their inspiration and bring something special to the project. You know, so I think we're fortunate to have that amazing level of collaboration.
Absolutely, and it shows. I mean, I think you know, there's so much fear historically in the industry around having inclusive casts and teams and being representative, but y'all have shown, I think, how powerful actually it is when you do it. Eddie and Alejandro, I wanted to give you a word on this, and then we'll close with Erik. But Eddie, tell us a little about what was it important? Why was it important? Was it important for you to be part of this project in terms of how inclusive it was and representative it was, and especially being from kind of both sides of the border yourself? Why was that important?
You know, I always feel that that's what I obviously relate to, since it's been, you know, my life. It's just very interesting when you are born in one place, grow up in another. And so it was interesting for me growing up, and even in high school, remember reading about people who start to feel like they're not from anywhere. You know, like now I'm in the US and some people are like, oh, you have an accent. And then I come here and then sometimes I forget words in Spanish because I am like always, you know, speaking English. And so I just always feel like it's important, you know, for us to tell stories about, we all come from different backgrounds, we all come from different, you know, religions. There's always going to be, you know, countries, languages, religions, and things that could divide us, but in the end, I just think that it comes down to the fact that, you know, we're all human. We are all here to share this space. And I always try to, for me, this, you know, it's a story that just shows how this dream exists everywhere. You know, whether you want to go to another country or it's within where you live or whatever, you know, you want to have a dream, something that propels you every morning to wake up, to look forward to, something that you want to achieve. So I think that they're universal themes, all wrapped into some things that some specific, you know, groups of people can relate to. And of course, you know, me coming, my family being from Mexico, I think it was just very easy for me to relate to and want to tell a story like this. And then also for me, it was also very fun creatively to read about someone that was so badass at the same time. You know, it added that extra fun factor. And I want to give a shout out to Seth Michaels, who plays Dragon, you know, because I've known him since I first moved here and we've stayed friends, and he always thinks of me for roles. And he's the one that, you know, through Erik, showed me the script. And of course, Patricia Velasquez, who plays my mom. So, you know, we definitely had a wonderful cast. And it's inspiring, and it's, you know, I'm proud to have been a part of this. I think it's a great story that I don't think we see always, the actual journey of what an immigrant goes through.
Yeah, we don't.
Or a portion of,
right.
At least.
Absolutely, yeah, we don't. I think, especially in this way, like you said, with this kind of these twists around the strength of these folks. Alejandro, I want to give it to you and then close with Erik. But tell us a little bit why was, the inclusive nature of the project, representative nature of the project important to you, and how did you experience that working on the project?
Yeah, like I said before, I didn't even have a chance to think about the inclusion or this or that. They just told me you're playing the bad guy, the head of the cartel, and I was like, wow, that I always play the doctor, the good guy, whatever. So yeah, I'd love to do that. I didn't know what to expect. You know what? I'm not that young anymore. So I feel like I'm starting my career right now as an actor, now that I have an agent, manager, publicist, and all that. So if it looks like good work, I'll go do it. But then when I got there and I saw Erik, I got to meet Courtney. He didn't really get to meet me that well, but I heard that's Courtney. He's the executive producer. I was like, okay, it looks cool, And then I got to meet the cast and everybody else, Erik, and I was like, I'm in good hands here. This is, it's a great place, all the freedom to create. I talked to Erik a couple of times. Hey, Erik, I was thinking for this scene, if I sit here next to my son, it would be a lot more, personal. And I'm like, shit, And then he's like, okay, let's move lights, let's move everything else. It's amazing that you get to talk to a director and he says, let's do it. It sounds good. He could have said no, and that's fine too, But my point is, you don't know what you're going to get yourself into. Once you get there, I loved it. It's great. That's why no water, no electricity, good team, going out to dinner, doing what you love to do, which is acting, and you don't get to do it very often. Awesome. I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have those bumps, at least you can do it with people that you enjoy spending the time with. Erik, I wanted to close with you just around the impact that you hope this project will have, or I know it's not quite out yet as we're recording this, but what is the impact you think this project should or will have? What do you want to leave folks with as they're coming out of the theater watching this project?
No, that's a great question. I mean, first, I want to thank a couple of the actors that aren't here today, that they're all working or traveling. I want to thank Seth Michaels, Patricia Velasquez, Robert Avillonette, Al Coronel, Robert Lusardo, Diana Artelli, who was amazing in this too as well, Juan Pablo Ali Slager, and Marcus Deanda. I mean, these were great actors that brought amazing energy to their roles and made this film 10 times better. And I'm grateful to you all. And I look forward to sharing your movie with everyone out there who isn't here right now. And then as far as the project, I want to let people know that this is free, dead or alive. It's an action thriller that drives home the theme of freedom. It explores the question of how far one would go and how much one is willing to risk. And I think this message, just essentially conveys that. Will one choose to be free, dead or alive, rather than being imprisoned in a place where they have no destiny, no opportunity, and I think that's the theme of the film, and then we capture the story at a very unique place in the Mexican migrant journey. And I think that it shows the journey every migrant makes to America. And we want to, the audience to see this, meet our characters, Eva, portrayed by Eddie Ganem, and her mom, Maria, portrayed by Patricia. And, the Brazilian thing in the way, portrayed by Alejandro. And really sees some old-fashioned grit, the kind of stuff you don't see a lot anymore, the kind of movies people don't make anymore, where they waste too much time on details that don't matter. Just meet our people and strap in and follow them on this journey.
Well, it's exciting. It's like you said, it's thrilling. It's got action, but it also has a really important message, and I hope folks will check it out. Again, the film is Free, Dead or Alive. I'm really grateful to all of you joining us today. Our guests today, Eddie Ganem, Alejandro de Hoyos, Courtney LeMarco, and Erik Bernard. Thanks again to all of you. I hope folks will check out the film, and congrats on it, and really appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jared.